Hi, I'm Tracy Insminger. This is my Module 7 presentation, Family Involvement, AEP 880. This is our case study mini vignette. The people involved are main characters, student Joel Pham, teacher Mr. Rolnick, parents of Joel, Mr. and Mrs. Pham, and the minor characters, teacher Miss Smith, student Miles, and Mrs. Pham's employer. The situation. Teacher Mr. Rolnick is an advocate of supporting student success through parent volunteering. Joel Pham is one of his students whose parents seem reluctant to participate in the many volunteer opportunities offered by Mr. Rolnick to be involved in the school community. Mr. and Mrs. Pham, Joel's parents, seemingly have no barriers in being involved in the volunteer opportunities. The Phams are English speaking and live within walking distance of the school. What are the issues? Mr. Rolnick believes that Phams are passive about Joel's education. Aside from parent-teacher conferences, the Phams do not get involved in the school community. Problem: how to get parents involved in school community when there are seemingly no barriers. Concerns: Mr. and Mrs. Pham attended the same school as their son. They are both Vietnamese, and when they attended school community was not welcoming of them. Some of the same teachers are still working at the school now. Question 1. What other factors may be keeping the Phams from volunteering at the school? Possible views about education that are rooted in the Vietnamese perspective about education. As we have learned in class, many cultures have traditional views on education and the family's role in education. The Phams may feel that they do not want to coddle their son. Vietnamese parents tend to have these expectations that the child will go to school, make good grades, and do what they're supposed to do without any kind of coddling. There may also be a disinterest in what is being offered as volunteer opportunities. It is possible that the Phams may be able to suggest ways, if Mr. Rolnick would reach out, in which they feel that their contributions to the school community would be more valuable. Mrs. Pham may be able to speak about the process of printing or offer information about Vietnamese culture, or maybe they can contribute by preparing traditional Vietnamese foods. Possible lack of flexibility in when parents can volunteer. It seems as though all of the opportunities to volunteer are during the school day, and if there were some sort of a community engagement opportunity in the evening or even on the weekends that the Phams could participate in, maybe they would. My personal experiences: when I worked in special education in one district, I had students whose parents had also been in the same district through the special education process, and they were very distrustful of special education and of some of the teachers. I was very cautious in communicating with parents about IEPs and explaining the process and asking for their feedback on goals for IEPs. Some of the parents also spoke Spanish in the home and were not fluently bilingual, and I always checked to see what language they preferred to have communication sent home in. How should Mr. Rolnick and other teachers and administrators reach out to parents? Well, you need to work to foster relationships with caregivers. You cannot just make communication a couple of times and expect that relationship to be a trusting relationship. Administrators and teachers should work together, be mindful of the culture that the family is, be aware of what the traditions are in that culture, and be respectful of the traditions, especially in regards to communication, and even maybe which parent would be the typical contact in regards, a first contact in regards to a student when the student has a need or there's a situation. School staff can help build trust by providing translators that are impartial, but familiar with the special education process. An ideal candidate would be an individual not related to either party, fluent in the family's preferred language, and familiar with the process of special education so that they can explain what is going on, what outcomes are. School staff should always consult parent caregivers in the process of their child's education. Ask for feedback, what their thoughts are. They know their child better than we do. It's always good to give positive feedback about their child also. Let that first communication be something positive, something you genuinely noticed, authentically noticed, and let that parent know. Because the first contact you make is a negative contact, it's not going to go well. You have to build that relationship through getting to know that child, being trustworthy, and being genuine. Also, check in frequently with the parents. 1 or 2 contacts with the parent is not going to build a trusting relationship. And also, I mean, throughout this college career of mine, I've learned about restorative measures. And in the case of the FAMs, especially, maybe a conversation could have been set up between the teachers and the FAMs to address their concerns and their feelings. Restorative measures and an apology sometimes can go a very long way. My personal experiences, I have had parents that have experienced school as a hostile place, and from the staff that was still at the school. And the parents that I worked at when I was in special education, they were Hispanic, and they stated that there were staff members that were racist. And they spoke with it about me. They shared concerns for their child. They did not want them to experience the same thing. I frequently worked as a go-between with the parents and the staff that was still there, in communication and building that trusting relationship. That was something I think that probably helped immensely. When how would the staff knowledge of a barrier? Well, previous teaching staff, as in the case of the FAMs, definitely helped them kind of pinpoint Mrs. Smith's concerns. I mean, she pointed out that their experience had not been great. And also hearing it firsthand, like in my case, the parents shared with me their concerns because we already had a bit of a relationship that allowed them to open up to me, and I'm pretty approachable. I'm pretty down to earth, so I think maybe that helps. But you sometimes will hear it from them. Sometimes you can just tell by body language, you know. But how to eliminate the negative experiences and hard feelings? You have to work on that relationship. You have to keep working and ask the caregivers, reach out to the caregivers. Oftentimes you can tell if they're distrustful, like I said, with the negative feelings, body language. So you have to try to work to assure them. I mean, it's our job to make sure that we are able to comfort those parents and make them feel like their child is in good hands and getting a good education. Mr. Rolnick's assumption about the FAM's disinterest in their son, well, it's stated in there, because they didn't take advantage of the family involvement opportunities, and the FAMs were disinterested in their son's education. That's a wrong assumption, in my opinion, for him to make. But family involvement can include teachers encouraging parents to read to their kids. I send home decodable readers. I teach first grade now. I send those home. I mean, it's a bonding time for the kids. They get to know what's going on in class. They know what's going on in class. Teachers can also create at-home work assignments that involves the entire family, such as interviewing an older family member about a historical event in their culture, or maybe visiting a museum or some cultural interest that relates to their culture. Educators could also ask parents to prepare a presentation to give the class, perhaps something to do with their career that they could share with the kids. When I am preparing my school year lesson plans, I prepare a family culture day where I reach out to families, whether they're all Caucasian or not. I've had some great turnouts. We've had families bring traditional foods. We've had monies brought from other cultures. We've had visitors come in and speak. It's a great opportunity to get to know. One year I had some young girls come in and do a traditional dance that they were involved in as they were growing up. So it can be a really good way to get to build that opportunity, get to build that relationship, and an opportunity to build that trust and get to know each other. Thank you for watching my presentation. Take care.